We are ready to go now for Stefan. Stefan, thank you so much for joining us. And I know today is a mainstay of our talk. You wanted to talk a little bit more about surviving nuclear war, getting prepared for it. But yeah, I think you wanted to weigh in on the Canadian wildfire situation. What are you hearing? What's the latest? I know you're also suffering through some bad air quality too, as well.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me back on, Eric. Always a pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure to talk to you. Uh, so, I don't know what's going on with the wildfires. Who knows what's going on with them? This is not normal. I can tell you that. I've
Hmm.
lived through numerous wildfires, forest fires, especially when I was in California. I lived up in the mountains there, and several times there was
Hmm.
big wildfires, and you can see it just over the ridge. The sky is all orange, and there was a lot of smoke, and same thing here. I've lived through a lot of wildfires, but you know what? Not one of those wildfires ever smelled like plastic.
Mm.
And I read some explanation that, oh, the particles from the smoke from the wildfires rose up into the air, and then it was hit with um, ultraviolet radiation from the sun, and now it's turned it into formaldehyde.
Right, right.
Y-
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, if you buy that, I've got
So,
I got some vaccines to sell you.
yeah, it's a new wildfire Einsteinian formula there.
Yeah, well, if that's the case, how come I have never smelled it before in my life with all the wildfires I lived through? But now suddenly the wildfires smell like chemicals.
Hmm.
Eric, I think it's a chemical attack. Something is up. This is not normal. This is not natural. First of all, we know that all these wildfires were started on purpose. They've already caught a
Sure.
few people that were setting fires out in the woods. The fact that like 15 wildfires all started exactly at the same time, stretched out over 300 miles, it's arsonists that started the fires. But now suddenly the smoke doesn't smell like a campfire. Normally, if you have a wildfire, forest fire, it smells like a campfire or a wood burning
Right,
stove. That's what it smells like. It doesn't smell like plastic. And here we got the
right.
same. Here we got the same thing. You could smell it. You can taste it. It's some kind of chemical,
Yep.
formaldehyde. Could be. I don't know. And the other thing I noticed is that yesterday my cats wouldn't eat, which is really
Hmm.
rare. They eat everything I put on the plate for them. But nope, yesterday I put out their food and they just turned their nose up and they weren't
Yeah,
happy about it. So
yeah. I'd be interested to get people's feedback as Stefan is saying that. Send me a message, everyone who has pets, because I was mentioning message or telling Stefan that my dogs have been unusually throwing up a little bit more so than usual. I mean, I know the dogs that I have, the Frenchies. I mean, it's pretty common that they do it every once in a while, but it's been pretty consistent since we've had the smoke hit here, and I got to take them out to go to the bathroom at least for just like 2 minutes type of thing. I won't let them stay out longer than that. So I'm just curious to see what's going on with your pets. But go ahead, Stefan.
yeah, so Ed, I don't know. Would I put it past our governments to start? We know they're doing everything in their power to destroy and kill us and murder us. So, when you suddenly find that some
Hmm.
weird toxic cloud, no, I mean, it's all the way down there in the States for crying out loud.
Yeah.
This has come northern Ontario, northern Quebec, and
Hmm.
it stretches all the way down. Everybody's getting sick from it. So I don't trust anything, Eric. You know me. I would put nothing past. There's no evil our
Uh-huh.
governments wouldn't do to make our lives more miserable. So who knows what this is? Who knows if what's in the smoke?
Yeah.
Anyways, um,
It's in the protocols of Zion. You know that they said shortly before the missiles start flying and they head to their underground cities, they're going to start wildfires and do train derailments and all kinds of stuff.
yeah,
If you go back, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
People say, "Well, how? You're really good at predicting all this." I said, "No, I'm not. I said,
He's got to read.
I read the Protocols of Zion 25 years ago. That's why I knew everything that was coming.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
because
But
it's all come true. I mean, oh, they say, oh, well, it's a forgery. A forgery? What do you mean? Everything they've talked about has come true in exactly the same order they talked about it. So we
yep.
know what they're going to do. Yeah, absolutely. Before the missiles fly. So that brings us to today's topic, which is
Yep.
surviving in a nuclear attack. You know, there's been a lot of talk in the media, which is very distressing, about nuclear war, limited nuclear war, strategic nuclear war. Oh, Russia is targeting, U.S. cities. They're going to target New York and London and Washington with nuclear warheads. And listen, all this talk is all, we know what it is. It's predictive programming. They're getting everybody used to the idea that nuclear war is an inevitable outcome of all this fake war in the Ukraine. Geopolitical, yeah. Listen, we know it's still all part of their big plan to kill us all off. So, would they set off some nukes? I don't know. I tend to doubt it, but the more they hype it up in the media, the more I start to believe that this is exactly where they're going. Mm-hmm. So let's get ready for nuclear war, folks. You might want to take a pen and pencil and write down some of the things I'm going to recommend coming up here.
That's it. Take some notes with a gas mask on. Go ahead, Stefan.
Yep, take some notes and clean your Glock. First of all, you need to prepare in advance. If a nuclear explosion occurs within 500 miles of you, you won't have time to prepare then. You need to prepare now. And it's not anything too different than what we've been talking about over the last couple of years. First of all, you need a home emergency kit, right? At minimum 3 days worth of food and water, a good medical kit, some firearms, some materials to keep yourself clean. This everybody should have already, and if you don't have it already, shame on you. Get your head out of your butt and start preparing. Get a home emergency kit ready. I'm not going to go into the details of a home emergency kit because we've already covered it. And if not, then look it up and get a list of the items you need. But number one, home emergency kit. Number two is a bug out bag. Now we've talked about bugging out or sheltering in place, and my preferred option would always be sheltering in place. I really don't think it's a great idea to get in the car and try and drive out to the countryside for a number of reasons. One, if everybody's bugging out, if there's an evacuation, you're not going to get anywhere because the roads will be jammed in minutes. Also, there won't be gas stations open, so you could easily run out of gas, and there you are stranded on the side of the highway with no access to any supplies and or help, and that would be worse than staying at home. But in this case, in the case of a nuclear attack of some kind, yeah, now you might need a bug out bag. And I'll explain why. There are 3 stages to a nuclear disaster, and they all require different strategies. The first is the blast stage, from which you need to stay behind a solid protection. So there's a bright light goes off in the sky, or a bright light goes off in the distance. Number one, don't look at it. And number two, get as much solid concrete and brick and whatever you can between you and the source of that light.
Yep.
So that's the blast stage. But that's about all you can do. If you're indoors already, okay, stay away from the windows, get down low. If there's any kind of advance warning, and I doubt there would be, but, like you see in the old movies from the 50s, they hit the air raid sirens and everybody runs to their nuclear fallout shelter. At one time, every major city in North America had a public fallout shelter. I don't
Really,
know.
I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I don't know where they are now, if they're still there. But at one time, there would be like, okay, and oftentimes there would be the subway system, right? Run to the subway system, and they would have emergency supplies there. Or if you were in a college or a university, it would be in the basement. Um, so if you're in your home, yeah, get into the basement. If you're in the office, if you're in a building, get to the lowest part of the building you can. Maybe the underground parking garage, that would be a good place to go. But put as much concrete between you and the source of light as possible. So that's the blast stage. The good news is, if you're still alive 10 seconds after the blast, then you're probably okay from the blast stage. So, you know, no, but there's no way to hide from this stuff. And unless they give you, like I said, forewarning, yeah, then get to the basement, get to the fallout shelter, if there's such a thing anymore. I don't even know. Um, and I doubt they'll keep the doors open anyways. But if
Yeah, I lost
not,
for like the last 15, 20 seconds.
yeah.
Oh, now you're back.
Oh, sorry. So, but like I said, if it doesn't kill you in the first 5 seconds, then you'll probably be okay. But now comes the second stage of a
Bef-
nuke.
Before, before we go to the second stage,
Yeah.
it's like if you survive, like, okay, let's say it happens even remotely close to you. Is this where you're going to want to start popping your potassium iodine? Like, do you do it right away? So I was just looking that up this morning, and because I was prepared to say like how much you should take according to at least mainstream science here, and it looks like if you're over 150 pounds, 130 milligrams, which I'm sure is probably just like one pill, I guess, because I have them, but I haven't really like looked at the packaging or anything.
Yeah, I got them too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's probably like one pill a day, and I guess if you're younger, maybe like a half a pill because it looks like you reduce it by half. Like, do you just start popping that like immediately?
I guess you could. Better to take some just to
Yeah.
be safe. But the initial, from the initial blast stage, the danger is in gamma radiation. That's why you need to get behind something, not only to protect you from the blast, but to protect you as much as you can from the gamma radiation. And as I understand it, and I might be wrong on this, somebody else can maybe knows more about it, but the potassium iodine is not going to protect you from gamma radiation. This is more for strontium 90, which is part of the fallout material. And the strontium 90 replaces calcium in your body, and so the potassium iodine is meant to absorb that strontium 90 so that it doesn't affect your calcium and your thyroid.
Thyroid. Yep. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is. Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so the second stage is the fire stage. In addition to the initial blast wave, and like I said, if you're still alive, if you haven't been shredded standing in front of a window, then the fire stage is the next, because nuclear weapons set off thousands of fires throughout the city, and it could create what's known as a fire storm. This is when you might have to bug out. If there is a firestorm, if they set the city on fire, now everywhere around you is raging, and you can't stay at home because you're going to get burned. So now you have to bug out, and that's why you need your bug out bag, to get out of the way of the firestorm. Okay, so since you brought it up, let me go through a list that you should keep in your first aid kit. Now, you should have a good first aid kit anyways, but to prepare for a nuclear blast, here's some items that you need in your first aid kit. Number one is burn dressings. Burn dressings don't come in your standard first aid kit that you buy from the drugstore. You know, even if you spend $100, it probably won't have any burn dressings. But burns are a serious and very common type of injury that would occur during a nuclear explosion. And what a burn dressing is, it's like a thick gauze pad that's impregnated with Vaseline or some other type of oil or a gel. And it's packaged in a airtight aluminum package, right? You put this over second or third degree wounds, burns. So a first degree burn is it makes your skin red. So that's like a sunburn. A second degree burn causes blistering.
Mm-hmm.
And a third degree burn means the skin has actually been burned away and now the underlying tissues are exposed. And the danger is infection. A third degree burn not only does it open up your skin, but it affects the body's ability to fight infection in that wound. So, if I were to like scrape, I did it the other day. I brushed up against a really sharp portion of the brick wall outside, and well, I scraped like a 2-inch strip off my forearm. I'm not worried about infection for that. Yeah, I did put hydrogen peroxide and antibiotic cream, but that's not really dangerous. But you burn a 2-inch strip off your forearm, now you're in serious danger of infection and gangrene and sepsis, and that's because the body can't fight any contamination in your skin after it's been burned. It like knocks out your body's immunity system. So that's why you need a burn dressing. And you put the burn dressing over there, it protects it and keeps it disinfected. But as your body starts to heal, you can remove the burn dressing without the gauze sticking to your skin. So if you just cover it up with a gauze pad and you start to heal and you pull that gauze pad off, you're going to pull all the new skin off with it because it just kind of meshes with your body. The skin actually, the pus and the scab gets right into the bandage, and if you pull that off, it takes everything with it. So that's why you need it, that it's embedded in Vaseline, or they also use a kind of jelly so that it doesn't stick to your body when you remove it. So for a nuclear attack, you need some burn dressings. The other thing you want to put in your first aid kit is baking soda. So baking soda is used for external cleansing of radioactive particles. So if you've been outside during the fallout and you got to disinfect yourself, you got to decontaminate yourself, one of the best ways to do it is use baking soda, 5% solution. Take a bath in this stuff, because baking soda helps to extract radioactive particles from your body. So baking soda, and get a lot of it. I always buy a 2-pound box at least.
Yeah, I got a bunch. Yeah.
Yeah, like baking soda is good for so many things.
Oh yeah. Keep it in your fridge, leave it open. Yeah, it cleans out the fridge. Yeah, a lot of good.
Yeah.
I was using baking soda actually when I was working out because it actually restricts lactic acid in your body in small quantities.
Mm-hmm.
I would actually ingest a little bit, so you could work out longer basically. Yeah.
Oh, I take a tablespoon of baking soda every night before I go to bed.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because it also, in addition to all the other things that it does, it prevents cancer.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, yeah. Because cancer thrives in an acidic pH level in your body. So you get
So it makes your body more alkaline then, huh?
Exactly. So the baking soda gives you more alkaline, and you can't OD on it because what you do is you just basically pass it out through your urine if there's too much, and but it keeps you more alkaline because cancer grows in acidic environments, meaning it feeds on sugar and alcohol and bread and things like that. So, which makes your body too sweet, and that's when the cancer grows. So yeah, baking soda. I brush my teeth with it, but in our case, in the case of surviving a nuclear disaster, baking soda is for decontamination. So what would happen is you mix some in a big jug, and you use that jug to wet down anybody that's been exposed to nuclear fallout, and it'll help neutralize the radiation and help clean you. Okay. Next thing you need to add to your first aid kit is we already talked about it. You brought it up, Eric. Potassium iodide. So potassium iodide targets the thyroid and slows the absorption of radioactive iodine into the bloodstream. Radioiodine is eventually released from the body through the urine, and potassium iodide should be taken as soon as possible after the public health officials tell you to. And you were right, you should take a dose, 100 milligrams, every 24 hours for the next 10 days. The other thing you need to have in your first aid kit is Prussian blue. Have you ever heard of that, Eric?
Say that again. You just broke up on me there. Say that one more time.
Prussian blue.
No, I haven't. What is that?
I know Prussian blue because I'm an artist. And Prussian blue is a pigment. So in its powder form, it's a pigment. And but when you mix it with oil or acrylic, it's a really beautiful deep blue color. But Prussian blue, you can take it orally. So it clears radioactive elements of cesium and thallium from the body. These particles are then excreted through the body through feces. And but Prussian blue is only available by prescription. So you got to go to the doctor and get a prescription for it, and then he's going to ask you why, and if he doesn't know you, and you say, anyways. But you know what? I would buy it from an art store. Buy it from an art store. Because they sell it in powdered form for artists. So Prussian blue is given in 500 milligram capsules that can be swallowed whole. So Prussian blue, potassium iodide, baking soda. One more thing that you should have in your first aid kit for nuclear disasters, antihistamines. So this is like, what do we have that? Aleve and Benadryl. So antihistamines helps to alleviate the kind of symptoms you get from radiation poisoning, such as nausea and vomiting. So also, your body has a reaction to infections, and often that reaction is an overreaction. So, for example, you get stung by a bee and you're allergic to bee stings. What the body does is it overreacts to the bee sting, and it sends out fluids throughout the body and often the throat that swell up and congest, and in the case of the throat, can cut off your airway and kill you. So an EpiPen, which is an injectable antihistamine that comes in a kit, and you've probably seen this on the TV shows or something, or the movies, and you just kind of grab it and you jab it into your thigh, and that will help reduce the histamine reaction. But those things are expensive. They're bastards, you know. They're charging through the nose for EpiPens, because I think it's like $300, $400 for one. And
oh wow, that much?
Yeah, they raised it through the roof. Why? Because it's just Benadryl in liquid form, for Christ's sakes, you know. The bastards, you know, they're screwing you.
Wow.
But also because they don't want you to be able to treat yourself. All right? Anything that might be the least bit, you know, allow you a little bit of self-reliance. No, you can't have that. So, well, especially here in Canada, you're not allowed to. I'm surprised they still allow them to sell Band-Aids, for fuck's sakes, because, excuse my language, Band-Aids, for Christ's sakes. No, I can't say the Lord's name in vain. Band-Aids for crying out loud. Because, you know, that's treating yourself. You need a medical license to put a Band-Aid on a cut. Coming soon. I have no doubt with these socialists. But anyway, so an EpiPen, that was another thing. But if you get an antihistamine, either like Benadryl or Relieve is you know, these are commercial names for antihistamines. Then, and if a person starts showing signs that their airway is swelling up, or they're constantly throwing up, then give them the Benadryl. Hopefully, it will work in time. It just takes longer for it to digest and get into the system than a needle does. But you treat them as best you can. You give them the antihistamine, and you hope they pull through. So those are the extra things you would need in your first aid kit in case of a nuclear attack. Okay, finally, the last thing, the third stage of a nuclear attack is fallout. So what this means is that all the dirt and smoke and everything that's been blown up into the air by the initial blast is now coming back down, and it's probably radioactive. So that's why you need the Prussian blue and the potassium iodine. You need it for the fallout stage, not the initial stage, where the initial blast stage, because if the blast hasn't killed you, okay, then you're going to have to wait a day and start taking the potassium iodide to protect against the fallout. So now it's the fallout stage, and again, it depends on whether you should bug out or shelter in place. So you have to be aware of where the nuclear device went off in relationship to where you live. So if it went off to the east of you, then you're probably okay and you don't have to evacuate. Because we know the weather patterns in North America generally, but not always, but generally travel from west to east. So if the nuclear event went off, 200 miles east of you, you're probably okay. You probably don't have to worry about nuclear fallout. If it went off west of you, let's say it's 100 miles west of you, then you're going to be directly in the path of the nuclear fallout. Now, if you have somewhere to go to that's out of the path of the prevailing winds, so let's say where you are there, Eric, it went off exactly 100 miles west of you, but you can travel 300 miles north to your cabin, then go to the cabin. Because then you'll be out of the path of the fallout, and you won't have to worry too much about radioactive contamination. But if you can't bug out of the way somewhere, and again, that's assuming that you can get out of the city, that's assuming you've got enough gas in the car to get to where you're going. A lot of things, you have to take into consideration. But if you can bug out, and it gets you out of the fallout range, that would be your preferred strategy for that. But if you can't bug out, well, then you need to make your place, you need to seal off your house or your apartment where you live. So for this, you're going to need a lot of plastic, clear plastic. Get the thin stuff, it doesn't matter, right? Those thin ground sheets, clear plastic, and duct tape. You're going to need a lot of duct tape and a lot of clear plastic. So then what you would do is take the clear plastic and the duct tape and from the inside seal off all your windows. Then you have to take into account where the air is getting into your house. So you're going to seal off the windows. You're going to seal off the doors except the one door that you're going to leave open that you're going to get in and out of your apartment or your house from. And then you usually have a furnace that blows air through the house, and if this happens in the wintertime, you might not want to turn on the furnace if there's still electricity, which there probably won't be anyway, so nothing to worry about. But what you could do, it's not great, but what you could do is get one of those furnace filters and duct tape that over all the vents leading into your room or your apartment or your house, so that you are filtering some of that fallout away from you. So extra duct tape, extra plastic sheeting. Now the other thing you might have to do is create a decontamination room. Now if you live in the old style farmhouses where you have a mud room, that's perfect. So the mud room would become your decontamination room. So you would set up the plastic sheeting with the duct tape, but you're not going to duct tape it on all four sides. You're going to just duct tape it on two sides. You would set that up on the inside of the door leading to the mudroom. And so if you had been outside and you want to come into the house, then you first go into the mudroom and you remove all your clothing. And you put that clothing in plastic garbage bags and seal it up and leave it outside or leave it in the mudroom. Then, now that you're naked, you're going to hose yourself down from top to bottom with the baking soda and water solution. Mm-hmm. And then dry off, and then get some clean clothes that were inside the house, preferably already, folded in one of the dressers, so, almost no chance that any contamination, any fallout has reached the clean clothes. Then put on the clean clothes and then slip through the plastic curtain you'd set up. So that's your decontamination room. You would do the same thing for a biological attack. If, they decide to start spraying us with botulism or all the other bacterial weapons that they have, again, you would have to do the same thing. Go into your decontamination room, take off your clothes, wash down with the baking soda, and then you can come into the house and not bring all the contaminants with you. Yeah. So you need lots of soap and water in the decontamination room. Maybe you have a washing tub, the old-fashioned kind of tub. You can get that made out of Tupperware or whatever like that. So you can, put your hands in it, wash your face down with the baking soda and so on. Take your glasses off and your contact lenses out, rinse them off, and that's the way to survive sheltering in place during the fallout stage of these of a nuclear event. And then, if you don't have a mud room, let's say it's just your apartment, then the only other alternative for a decontamination room, and again, that's why I need a lot of plastic sheeting and get the Gorilla duct tape. That stuff is amazing. It doesn't come off. And then pin a sheet, say 3 feet inside the doorway, your front door, from ceiling to the walls. And then that 3-foot section, as you first come in your door, that would be your decontamination area. Keep the water and soap and water and chlorine too, especially if it's a biological attack. You might need to use chlorine to wash things down, not directly on your body, of course, and garbage bags there to put your contaminated clothing in, and then slip through the sheet that you hung from the ceiling. So that's and then again, hopefully you got enough food and water to last you a couple of weeks. The fallout stage doesn't really last that long. Depends on the weather, how fast the wind's blowing, or if you get a rain shower that washes everything down. Well, stay out of the rain, obviously, but also it will reduce the fallout and the range of the fallout, and it will clear it up rather quickly. Yep. So, folks, that's the basic tips for surviving a nuclear attack.
Yeah, and great timing. Speaking about rain, it is coming down heavy and hard today. As a matter of fact, I got a message from AEP, my electrical provider, yesterday saying power might go down due to bad weather. So hopefully I'll be able to do this next show, and we got this in just in time because it is nasty out there and it's coming down hard. So final minute or two here, Stefan, shameless self-promotion time before we let you go.
Yeah, shameless self-promotion, yeah. Just love me.
just love me.
Get my survival library, because all of this, what we just talked about, it's in my book. All of what I just talked about is in my book, The Art of Urban Survival, which teaches you how to survive a nuclear attack, but nuclear, biological, chemical attack, pretty much the same kind of strategies and tactics, right? So it's in my book, The Art of Urban Survival, which is included as one of 320 books on all aspects of survival in my survival library. And also, last time we talked about getting your team together. And I put out a video based on a comment I got on our video, Eric. And
Okay.
yeah, the guy said, I listened to you and Eric talking, and let me tell you my story. I lived through the Civil War in Angola from 1995 to 2006 or something like that.
Mm.
And he said, if you can't trust people, the biggest problem during the Angola Civil War is finding people to trust.
Mm.
He said, you make the wrong decision, you trust the wrong person, and they will either rob you or turn you into the authorities for the reward.
Yep.
So that's why we say, and he also said to you, he said, and to Eric, if somebody goes out of their way to tell me they're a Christian, I would watch my back.
Right. You have to oversell it. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's after the shit hits the fan, right?
Right. Right.
So after shit hits the fan, you can't trust anybody. You don't know.
Right. Exactly,
No, but you
right.
can't, because everybody's going to be desperate. They're going to be
Yeah.
hungry. They're
Every
going to be
man for
needy.
himself.
They're going to be worried. And now they want to be your friend. Were they your friend while you were prepping for the last 10 years?
Yeah. Right.
Or did they think you were a tinfoil hat cuckoo? Were they your friend then? Well, if not, they're not your friend now either. So that's why. And he says, he praises you for your attempt to bring, because he also said that Angola at the time, they were lucky, was 98% Roman Catholic.
Okay, I didn't know that. Wow.
I did not know
Oh,
that either. Yeah.
it sounds like it'd be like more Muslim or something, maybe.
Yeah,
But, yeah, I
no,
don't know.
no, they were East. Well, I don't know if he's talking about all the population or just the white population.
Okay.
But he said they were 98% Catholic, and that's why they were able to trust each other a little bit.
A little bit more. Yeah.
A little bit more. So yeah, for your listeners out there, now's the time. Get your community together and
Yep.
build the trust now, because once all this goes down, there is no trust. Christian, Muslim, doesn't matter. Don't trust anybody. But now is the chance to make those bonds with your fellow human beings. And to that end, don't forget, I have an online course, The Complete Guide to Building Communities, and you can find that on my website. What's my creatingcommunities.com.
Okay. All right. Yeah, there you go. Hey, we appreciate the insights as always, folks. We got to get ready for. I'm hoping to get this podcast in. It is crazy outside though. Jason Charles, the Angry Prepper, up next. Until next time, stay safe and God bless.